Halvar, you are running and you are so out of breath and your lungs feel like they're going to burst. Your hand is like wrapped around your spear, so tight and has been for so long that you think that if you tried to let go, it would just be this claw, like just insane grip. And there's pain in your hand, there's pain in all your muscles from the battle. And there's like sweat and blood running down your forehead into your eyes. And you're squinting your eyes, not just from that, but also all the smoke from the fires that have been lit all around you in what was once the town of the fenfolk. And all around you, there are like veteran warriors who are cutting down the remaining fenfolk and like gathering up those who are going to be thralls. You can see Blonde Magni, one of the better known warriors in Skjalmod's service. He's like bellowing an order, and then a fenfolk teenager runs up to him, and Magni grabs the boy by the hair and smashes his helmet into his face. And then with a quick cut of his axe, kills him. And he like goes towards a nearby dwelling and kicks in a door. A moment later, you can hear screams. This is all around you, and this is the glory time. The battle is won, and now is where you make your money. You can take thralls, and you can find wealth in the hovels that are hidden all around. What do you do?
He pauses for a moment. His chest is just burning. He looks around, but it's almost as if it's not real, like it's a dream. The battle seemed real to him at the beginning, but it all happened so fast. He didn't feel it until now. He could feel the cuts that are all across his body. His left hand is just throbbing, and he can't figure out why. His eyes drift down there, and he sees that two of his fingers have been cleanly shown off. There's that moment of panic as he looks at the slit blood running down across his palm and pooling there. He hears a scream and a yell, and it brings him back to the moment. One of the other warriors is dragging a woman out of the hut by her hair. It's blood coated, where he must have punched her in the face or kicked her. He runs forward and past the man into the hut, looking for spoils. He knows this is what he's supposed to do. Though, in truth, it's never done it before.
Yeah, you're not the only one. There are like several others who are like unblooded in quotes, who are like have a similar sort of expression. You can see some of them standing outside, like the younger boys, you would call them, I guess. Though they're in their teens, like looking around, unsure. You like run into the hut and you can like get this wall of smoke and this like immediate coughing. Everywhere that you look, there's fire. Looks like every hovel has been set aflame. And you like begin to like search through the place, and you're like going over the table, and you like find scraps and food and things like that. There's nothing that shines, which is what you're looking for. And you like continue to search, maybe like tapping the floor with your spear for hollow bits, which is where a Viking would hide his wealth. But you realize quickly that this is a dirt floor, and these people don't even have wooden floors, if you can call them people. You like continue searching through, and you open this door, and you can see that like hidden there, there's two girls, teenagers, and a boy who's maybe 7, and they're just hiding.
Halvar panics. He hefts the spear up, and he thrusts at the boy, attempting to drive it in deep. He's still lost and confused by the action. He thinks he sees something in the boy's hand. And I don't know if you want me to make an attack roll or not.
No, he's 7.
Yeah.
It's just, and he's holding like this little scrimshaw sort of carving, like a toy that like thunks onto the floor. The two girls like scream, and one of them stands and like tries to rake at your eyes. It's like ineffective. Your helmet blocks the entirety of it, and you just feel this like dull thud as she begins to like smash at you with her fists, but it's not very effective.
Yeah, I think the horror of what he's done hits him like a blow to the face. He kind of staggers back. It's not the girl's attack. It's the this moment settling. He draws pulls back the spear, the boy's blood joining the blood of all the men he had fought. His hand still throbs, but he reaches over and just grabs the girl's hair with his left hand. His grip isn't quite as strong, missing parts of his fingers, but he just drags her out of the room. And he just screams, "You better tow, girl, or I'll kill you." The other one too
runs after you, and she jumps onto your back, and she tries to bite down into your neck, but you can hear or feel rather on the leather, and it's ineffective. And you can see Magni come out of a hovel and throw a woman onto the dirt and sees you with the girl on your back, and he just walks over and with a simple smashes the butt of his axe into the girl's face, who falls unconscious into the dirt. One at a time, boy.
Halvar would just kind of nod, dumbly. He's looks at him, and he would try to drive his elbow, letting go of the girl's hair, drive his elbow into her face.
Crack. And she falls unconscious onto the ground. Magni looks around at all the insanity, although he doesn't have any sort of look of disgust or even of pleasure. It's a distant sort of expression of someone who has done this many times and knows the best way to go about it. And he just looks. All right, you're with me. We're going to speak with the Jarl.
Yeah, Halvar, I think, is gladdened by the concealing of his helm and the blood that is spattered across his face, because he blushes, embarrassed, but he follows.
As you walk, you can see across the sort of not very wide gap across the swamp on the other side. You can see Naki, who's on his knees. And Fenya is there, near death. There's blood all over Naki and all over Fenya. And he's just looking at her, and you can see that one of the men is shaking his shoulder, but he's not moving. You walk with Magni and several others up to the central sort of tower that exists. It's the only building that hasn't been burnt because it's got a stone base. And that's where Skjalmod has been set up. You're sitting, Jarl, some hours after the battle, and the flames of the homes of the fenfolk are burning still, but most of the sounds of screaming and battle are gone, replaced now with wails of grief and ululations of women. You're on that in that central tower, and you can see all around as you look out the window, men dragging people out of hovels, killing men and capturing everyone else. Magni will enter, and he's still covered in gore. There's blood splattered across his face, and he has sort of a grim expression. But there's still that kind of madness in his eye from the battle just gone. You can see next to him a boy, a teenager, I suppose, with a fine spear and a shield covered in blood. And also with him is Hakon, the other very young boy. And you can see that he's got a bandage tied around his head. Obviously, he's been injured as well in the battle. Lord, if I may.
Of course, come forward.
We've counted the dead of our men, your men, rather, that you brought with you. There are 13 dead. Beyond that, 8 of the outlaws are slain. Kjartan also lies dead. We've seen a weapon is in each hand and have begun gathering the bodies to return them to Skjalvik. The men have begun taking their vengeance out on the place, Lord. The fires are burning low, but every hovel is being searched.
Good. Pool the wealth, have it counted. I'll take my lord's fifth and the rest to be distributed equally amongst the survivors. And even before he nods, I'll say outlaw and Koenig, Castellan men alike.
He'll nod at that. The Queen's fastness has been torn asunder searching for wealth, although it doesn't look like they value silver the same way that we do. We found a lot of wooden carvings of their ancient gods. We found 6 silver torques, 30 silver rings, a cache of decent spears, inks, woads, and he goes through this like laundry list of all this like stuff, none of which like makes the ka-ching sound when he's talking. But he says their boats are of good quality though, and they have great stores of food. And beneath the queen's chair, we did find a stout wooden chest. It was marked with some strange symbols, and we dare not open.
Go, send one of your men to find the wolf and have him look at the chest. He knows these things.
He is hard to approach, Lord. He's howling and clawing at a tree.
Set a man to watch and keep him safe in his state, and when he returns to his senses, give him the orders.
Aye. As for thralls, many of the men have taken fenfolk, women as their own, while most of the men have been killed. So far, 43 women and girls, 18 young men or boys that have been taken as plunder and thralls. Though you will be the final arbiter of that. Although I would suggest, and he like steps forward, that the men need the women folk.
True enough. I've heard Skander say as much before, though it sits ill with me. Give the women a choice, captured as they are, as fenwives, or thralls, or death.
He just nods. Beyond that, one of the girls, Nucky's woman, is badly injured. He is just sitting there, Lord. We should do something.
Before dawn, find blonde Magni and send him with 2 good men in one of the fenfolk's stoutest ships to the old woman near Skjalvik. She'll tend to this Fenya. She sees to her own.
He nods.
Find extra plunder for those men detailed for that. They will resent it that they're not left to the pillaging. But needs must be done. He is an alderman, of course.
He nods at that as well. He was about to say it, that no one's going to want to go on that mission. But he nods nonetheless. Anything else, Lord?
Who's this?
It's Halvar, Lord. He fought unusually well. I thought you should meet him.
Step forward, lad.
Halvar would take tentative steps forward. You can see that the hand that holds his spear is shaking. He's not meeting your eye. He's looking down more towards your feet. Lord.
I recognize you now. You fought with Thorin's van. Well, how fared he, Thorin?
Truth be told, Lord, I don't know. I lost him in the din of battle. We were separated and...
Stupid boy. Can't even remember the name of the officer you were under.
His eyes would have drifted up as he was answering your question. But the minute he hears that voice, he winces and takes a half step back.
He was better than most for unblooded. I'll give him that.
I see he left something with the dead, and Skjalmod points to the maimed hand.
Yeah, he lifts it up. The blood is starting to thicken, and just slow drips are coming from the 2 fingers lost. And
he killed one of the fenfolk, Lord. Rare large, maybe a simpleton of some kind. But he was big. And Halvar killed him.
Halvar's a bit embarrassed by this. because he knows he did not really slay this man through skill. It was by luck. He just happened to set the spear, and the man ran and impaled himself upon it. But he nods dumbly.
That hand may not do so well in the future for a shield or other weapon, but Toki the Grey is dead now, and I've no one to bear my banners into future wars. If you're brave and have skill at arms, and still one good hand to you, perhaps you could bear it for me, Halvar, son of...
Again, he looks down, he says, I do not know who my father was. Bastard bow and I was.
Magni sort of chuckles and then shakes his head, like embarrassed that he did that.
Then what do you say, Halvar of Skjalvik?
I mean, so what would someone do in a situation like this, Lloyd? If you were a bastard, I mean, I imagine that's not a great thing, but would you take on some other name?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the bastard thing is less important in Isklov than it is in like Westeros or whatever, you know, because it's like you don't really inherit titles in the same way and everything like that. So it's more like an insult than it is like a curse, you know. So I think you would take like I don't know what you would call it, but like a nickname, you know.
Mm.
So like to say of Skjalvik is totally fine instead of something so, you know.
Yeah. So that's what he would say. Just Halvar of Skjalvik, Lord.
Answer the Jarl boy. Will you bear his banner or not?
Again, there's a shuffling of feet, and again, thankful for the blood to hide the blush of his cheeks. His eyes snap up to the Lord. He says, it would be an honor. And you would see him start to like drop to a knee.
Magni would like look over and like roll his eyes and then look at you, Skjalmod.
Skjalmod will give him a wry grin, like caking the browned blood about his face, and just let the boy kneel there for a bit longer, just having like a bit of a joke with Magni and Thorin. And then he'll be like, go and see that hand tended to, cauterized if need be, and seek your plunder out.
Shall I take him to the witch as well, Lord?
Halvar's head would quickly Halvar's head would quickly snap around to that, and then he looks back at Skjalmod.
It would be a shame were it to fester, he says grimly, toying with the boy still, like that telling in his eyes to Thorin and Magni.
I've heard that if you eat her potions and chew on the tails of lizards, that you can grow a new hand.
Best take him then.
It looks as though Halvar is about to say something, but he just chews his tongue instead.
Maggie like looks down at you and then back to Skjalmod and then just laughs.
Fear not, Halvar of Skjalvik. We jape with you. She knows secret things and cunning ways to heal wounds such as yours.
And all it takes is a sacrifice of your blood.
And a secret.
There's there's probably like an awkward laugh from Halvar as he looks to the two men to see if maybe they're still playing with him or whether or not this is true. He wants to believe that what they're saying is not true, that he does not have to sacrifice his blood and give up a secret, because he has a few.
What say you, Halvar? Is your wound grievous enough that you needs must go have it tended? Or can you stay here and continue your duties after tonight's?
I think he would steel himself and kind of like puff up his chest as best he can, exhausted as he is. And he says, "Warm iron, cauterize the wound, I would think would be enough, Lord."
Go. Hakon, take Helvar and see it done. You must watch and learn too. And I'll just give a nod to them.
Magli will nod and like turn. Come on, boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Halvar would follow him out.
Skjalmod shifts his lower jaw as he like watches the flames of burning fenfolk huts, thinking to himself that 13's too grievous a cost for what they've achieved, but not saying it. If Thorin's still there, she'd probably know it from the look in his face.
Yeah, she reads his thoughts and just kind of grunts. 13.
An unlucky number. Good men who chose to come, they did not have to. I promised them broken rings and glory. I've only given them half of that toll.
You can see like a man pull some fenfolk out of a nearby hovel, dead, and just like throw them into the swamp as you stand at the window and look out.
I'll call out to the man, like wanting something to divert me from the worry, and like get up briskly and move from the dwelling and shout out to that man to drag those bodies back out and put them in the flaming buildings, have them burnt and not festering in the water to rot, and like poison the place.
He like looks for a moment in your direction to see who's shouting at him, and then he like realizes it's you and nods and will like wade into the swamp and like pull the bodies back out and into a burning building.
I'll find Althelm or call for Althelm and give him one of those fine spears that Magni spoke of. Tell him to take it down to that man for his trouble.
Yeah, he'll nod and run off with it. You can see down by Fenya that like Magni has arrived, and he'll like he's like shaking Naki's shoulder, and eventually Naki will like snap out of it, and he'll like call some men to him, and then make a stretcher and pick her up and bring her onto a boat.
I would go with them to the witch, he says to himself and then to Thorin. I should go with the Elderman Naki. I've lost my taste for this place.
And I will be at your side. I've no love for the witch, but she's useful.
Indeed, that's true enough. Kjartan was capable. Magni seemed so as well. Well liked by the men, outlaws, and kingsmen alike. I think we should leave him in command and see how he fares. What say you? Who would be your pick?
It's a wise choice, Jarl. He knows himself. He knows men. He'll be all right.
With that, I'll give orders for Magni to take command and at dawn raise the place, burn the bodies, and take whatever plunder it can into our boats and theirs back to Skjalvik. And I'll set off when the boat is found for us with Noki and Fenya and any other of the grievous wounded who could actually be saved by the witch and endure the journey.
Magni would ask before you leave, the statue, Lord, the rock, carving of their god, what's to be done with it? Should we leave it?
He thinks for a while and goes to give an answer and then doesn't, and asks if the wolf's still clawing at that tree.
He's unconscious now, Lord. He's burned out his flame, I think. I can wake him if you like.
No. He needs his rest if he's to provide the best wisdom. But when he does rouse, seek his counsel on how to best deal with the stone. He will know. My instincts tell me to destroy the thing, but who can say with things of the gods? Hear what he has to say. He will know.
My lord.
Good luck. I'll see you the day after tomorrow.
He'll nod and get back to work.
I'll set off when we can, leaving the place to be destroyed behind us.
Yeah, the three of you, with Fenya and Nucky and a couple of the other badly wounded, set off in some boats towards the Fen Witches Island. And as you leave and dawn is starting, it's mostly smoke now. All the fires, or most of them, have burnt out. You can smell this mix of burnt wet wood, thick smoke, and the sickly sweet smell of burnt bodies. As you pole your way now through the fens. It'll be a pretty significant journey through the fens to get to where you're going. And Nucky will sit staring at Fenya the whole time. He's sitting next to her, and you can see him he barely breaks eye contact, though she herself is unconscious. Occasionally she'll wake up and she'll say his name and groan or moan in pain, though she is very pale and warm to the touch, hot, even feverish. There are several other wounded in the various ships, some of them with missing digits or hands, others that have stab wounds that potentially could be healed. And it's a sort of grim procession. All of those who are badly injured are quiet because of their injuries, and all of those who are not are quiet because they want to be back there, involved in the rapine and plunder. They fought the hard part of the battle, but now don't get the joy. And so, they wouldn't show it outwardly or loudly, but it's very visible on them that they want to be there.
I guess I'd sense this and say to the men that I appreciate that they've come. Understand that they wish they could be with their companions, but remind them that they won't miss out on any of the plunder or thralls, which will be divided equally as is proper. It's just being safe kept for them until we can return. I'm sure that the aldermen will be thankful, as well as those others who can be saved by your actions. They will owe a thing to you as well as I do when we return.
They'll nod and say, of course, it wasn't a big deal. But you can sense that still, they're salty about it and they want to be there. Pull for the best part of the day, and you'll pass several sort of smaller fenfolk dwellings, a single family living in a hut. I don't know if you want to stop and deal with them, but it's going to be the case basically that all around they're going to be single families here and there, fenfolk, but you definitely sense that the power of the fenfolk is broken by destroying their capital, so to speak.
I'll note those locations to some of the men. I should come back and cleanse this place. But leave them for now, as it's more important to get the wounded and Fenya help.
And so you go and pull your way through, passing excuse me, from east to west towards the Witches' Island. Eventually you'll come out of the thicker fens and into the great sort of river here, or lake really, and you can actually use oars for once and make your way across to the Witches' Island. Again, as you arrive, there's just wildlife everywhere. Immediately noticeable, the difference, birds everywhere, and also deer, all of these strange things, and reptiles too, lots of lizards and snakes that crawl, and it even feels like the clouds of insects are thicker here, as with a you pole up to the Fen Witches' Island. The men will grab a stretcher and pull Fenya out and begin trudging. They don't really know where they're going, so they look to you, and you can lead them. The path itself is not particularly complicated, but you don't remember it, yet nonetheless, as you walk, you find the Fen folks' house, the Fen Witch's house. And you get the impression that no matter which way you would have walked, you would have found it. It's there, this little cozy little house with smoke coming from the chimney, and out the front, this big man, though silent, chopping at wood. He like looks up at all of your approach and like cocks his head to one side, and like will thud the axe, which looks very sharp, into the stump that he's chopping the wood on, and like walk over to the witch's door and just knock once. And the door opens, though no one stands behind it.
I'll nod a thanks to the mute and go to move in under the threshold or over the threshold.
You can enter in and see her there, much like before, an old woman, maybe too old, with these like long fingernails, and she's like sitting knitting in a corner. The smell of like delicious food, like spiced, and it smells just delicious. You haven't eaten since the battle, I suppose, and that's like the main smell you get. But there's also this smell of like the drying herbs and meat all over, and that impression that you had the first time that you were here, that this place is bigger inside than it looks on the outside. And she will like look up from her knitting while she continues to knit. Skjalmod, sword wrath. Come, sit.
He'll do so. Old mother, we've come to ask for your help. We have wounded outside, grievous so. I fear that only you could tend to their wounds.
Maybe the skein of their fate has been cut.
Maybe the scarf is not yet woven. He'll gesture to her like clicking needles.
She'll like pull the garment up and she'll like examine the threads. She'll like see one and like pull it out, sort of slowly, and like hold it up. This one is not a part of the tapestry. And she'll like let it fall to the ground. It does so unusually slowly and like wafts back and forth before hitting the ground. There's a cost.
I'm sure.
The gods have a plan in mind for all. And fate is hard to avoid. So the changing of that fate can be costly.
You mistake me. I wish you to heal these people, not alter their fate.
And that is altering their fate. They have
Are all
wounds that they
without-
would die of.
What would your cost be? We have gold and plunder from battle.
No use for gold here, nor plunder. She like looks around her house. She like looks back at the scarf and continues knitting.
What about new thread or a new axe?
Usually, it's other things that we seek. Those who have my understanding. Secrets, stories, small things, trifling things.
If that's so, then I'm sure I can pay. Name it.
It will depend upon how badly wounded they are.
Will you see them at least? He'll nod and like go to do so and bring Fenya in, unless there's anyone worse hurt than her.
No, not even nearly.
Okay, then Fenya.
Yeah, so she's brought in, and there's a space that's clean on the table where there wasn't when you were here a second ago, and they lie her onto the table on the stretcher. The stretcher is soaked through with blood, as are all of Fenya's clothes. Noki follows as if he's glued to her, and he's just his hands up to his shoulders are covered in blood. He just stares between the witch and Fenya. And she'll rise, and it's almost like she creaks, like her bones, as she stands. She puts down the knitting needles and walks over, and would lean over the body. She'll lift Fenya's clothes and look at the ragged scar underneath, this huge cut across her stomach that's been sewn shut with string, and a thick needle, and she tuts. Not very good. And she puts the back of her hand on Fenya's forehead and feels the heat. She will die. I suppose. She goes back over to the needles and picks them up, and looks at Fenya and begins knitting again. I could maybe do something about this. I would need something from you. Fenya here is in no position to give it.
She's one of your own. She's of this place.
We're all of the earth. We're all our own.
Then what is the cost for Fenya's life for your intervention?
As a statue in the place of the fenfolk. Your wolf will want to destroy it. You cannot.
What would have happened if the wolf destroyed it?
A great many things. The troll would become extremely angry. We don't want that. There are many things in this fen who worship older gods, or who are older gods, and that statue is sacred. Cannot be destroyed because it does not fit your belief.
I just ordered it for the wolf to do what he wished.
He will want it killed. He wants everything destroyed. That's all he thinks of. Death.
Those older gods had their champion there, a thing from the morass, Oroa. I saw it. And it was bested. That power broken. The wolf no small part in that. He's empowered by the Aesir. If it is his will from their wisdom to destroy the statue, then who am I to deny that?
He does as you say. And if you want this girl to live, you will leave the statue unbroken.
He does not do as I say. He does as he will, as Odin wills him.
Then I suppose the girl will die.
I'll send word that the statue is to be spared the destruction of the fenfolk's realm or area, whatever it's called. If it has not already been done so.
It has not.
Then I'll send some of the whole men with one of the boats to go back with that order, to carry it to the town.
She nods.
Is that wise, Jarl?
Would you do it for me?
You are not a fenwitch bitch.
Calm yourself. This is her house.
The girl, what does it matter?
She is my Ealdorman's wife. I'm sworn to protect her if I can, and I can. And if we can break that god's power and the people around it once, we can do so again. It is waning here, I feel it.
The monument is an affront to the Aesir.
Then let the Aesir destroy it if they can. They have not done so far. It was by no small part from the troll and this witch that we were able to rid ourselves of the scourge of the fenfolk.
And we should keep ridding.
You're afraid, girl.
I am not afraid.
You are. Fear has a very specific smell, and you reek of it. You do not need to be afraid of me. I won't harm you. But you are afraid of this place and the old things that live here. You are new here. All of you. I am new here. The Aesir are new here in the fen.
I am not afraid. She lies.
She smiles, and you can see these long brown teeth. It'll be some time before she is well again, and it will require a lot of work on my part.
The price I pay is for all the wounded.
She like tuts again. This one is meant to die. It is written. You can see the tapestry revealed. I can see it fraying. And what I will do is try to rewrite it. That is no small thing. The rest. And she like looks, and then we'll like see Halvar. This boy will probably live even without my help. But this girl will not. And for each piece of help, there is a cost.
Say it, Nocky, and I'll do this thing.
Nocky is kind of like shell-shocked. He hasn't really spoken at all since Fenya was struck down, and he's kind of just like looked. And at the mention of his name, he'll like look up. And he's kind of like shaking his head and nodding. Do it.
I'll nod and give the orders to some of the men without to go on and leave the wounded here now.
They'll go.
Probably gladly, I imagine. I'll say that and quick about it, so I'll go back into the witch. I don't want things to explode between her and Thorin.
Cost for this is great, but for the rest, something small. A secret that they have never told anyone. They will tell to me. They can whisper it into my ear. And that is all I require.
He nods. Agreed. My thanks.
Good. You should leave. This will be long. And there are things that will happen you do not want to see.
He thinks back to the fen fires. Very well. I'll expect them at Skjalvik.
She nods.
Thank you again.
She curls her fingers towards you, Halvar, to step forward.
It's tentative at best. And then his feet feel leadened and he drags them forward, trying to look brave. But he can feel his heart just beating against his chest, trying to break out as fear starts to grip him.
She sees you like looking down at the floor, and like this long nailed finger like touches underneath your chin and like moves your head up so you're looking at her. She like looks into your eyes. You're afraid.
He looks quick over his shoulder at the Lord. He says, turns back. I am not. I'm not afraid. But he knows that it doesn't have the conviction he wanted.
Show me your hand.
Dutifully, he raises it.
She like grips your wrist with like this unexpected strength and like holds it up near one of the fires so she can see. It's like squinting at it. Well, your fingers aren't going to come back. But I can take away the rot. But first, you'll tell me a secret.
So this is something he whispers to her, or something that he says that everyone to hear?
It's whispered in her ear, so only she hears it.
All right, cool. So he would hesitate a moment, again trying to steal up his courage, and then he leans in close to her and whispers in her ear. And I will send you a private message what he whispers to her.
Okay. She'll nod, and then she'll like put your hand on the table, and will like reach into this drawer. She like opens it up with that, and like reaches around till she finds like these two little sewing needles, and like pulls out another drawer, and like searches for a piece of string. And she prepares. She like takes this little tool, almost like a fork, and like holds down your hand and begins to like pull out like various bits of dirt and things that are like in the wound. And then like very mundanely, there's no magic involved here from what you can see. We'll like pull out all the dirt, and then like with some boiling wine, we'll like pour that over it and clear it up. So then like take this jar, this clay jar, and like pull out the stopper and like slather whatever is in there onto the wound. It stings, and then she'll like wrap it in this clean linen. She like takes the jar and pulls out like a handful of whatever goo is in there and puts it into a smaller jar, slams a stopper onto it and hands it to you. Clean bandage every day. Apply more of this directly into the wound, and you will live.
He doesn't say anything. He just slowly nods his head, looking at his hand as if it's not his anymore. And just kind of shuffles back.
Your life is important to you, boy. You won't forget.
Again, he just nods. He won't look at the witch. He's afraid of her.
As you like go to leave, you can see that she like moves over towards Fenya, and like has a scissors and will begin to like cut each of the pieces of string that are holding her stomach together, and begin whatever fell ritual awaits to try and heal the girl. So some time would pass, and Skjalmod, you'll find yourself sitting in your hall at home in Skjalvik, sore but alive. It's late night. You probably arrived maybe 2 or 3 hours ago. You finally had a chance to bathe, and you're like sitting, maybe soaking actually, in the bath. Your old muscles in agony, and all the bruises starting to show. And there's a knock on the door. Lord?
Who is it?
Jolric, Lord.
Come in, Sholrick. He'll relax again back into the soothing water.
He'll like limp in, dragging his foot behind him a little bit from the wound that he took not too long ago. And he'll like take a seat. Some things to go over, Lord. He pulls this like waxen tablet from his pack and begins to recount figures at you. Numbers of chickens, of cattle, tallies of iron, of stone, of wood, all these like figures, just nonstop numbers that he really thinks that you want to hear all of.
For once, he's right. Not always, but in this instance, Skjalmod had been brooding over the costs, the costs at the fenfolk, and then the costs with the witch. And so it's kind of like a welcome distraction to like put his mind to. So like from the comfortable, relaxed position, he'll try and like respond to any like questions and such that he has about like this news, but listen intently as he like brings him up to date on what's been happening for the last half week.
He'll like get to the end and 40 pounds of bacon stored in pantry number 4. Also, in your absence, Lord, there was an altercation.
I found the coin in the cake, Jolric.
Yes, Lord. The girl, Greta?
Yes, I recall.
She was
He
badly...
lies, then he recalls eventually.
Yeah, it's the girl who Gunnar married, and she was like with the abusive man in the hall. There was discussion about it. He'll say she was badly beaten, Lord, and raped. She lives. I had her sequestered here in your hall while the men were absent.
I set Skander and men to watching over her. How could this happen?
It was in the day. Dragged away.
Who by?
We're not sure, Lord. There's no proof, though my suspicion would have me think 'twas the man, Stein, that's responsible.
What said the girl?
She has not spoken of it, nor will she. She is shocked, and her jaw is broken.
Go to Thorin with this at once. Speak to her. She will know what to do with the girl, or wait to hear her counsel before deciding. I wish you'd spoken to me of this first.
Yes, Lord.
As for the rest, and he'll like mumble off about, yes, very good about the bacon and such, and prepare this for when the men get back and all of that kind of stuff, but it's not very exciting.
Yep. He'll stand and like limp, but dragging his leg behind him out of the room and close the door behind him. And you can hear him like as he like drags his foot behind him as he walks through your halls. There's a knock on your door, Thorin.
Enter.
I have something to discuss with you, Thorin. The Jarl sent me to speak with you.
Well?
May I sit?
Yes, sit.
Like makes this pained expression as he like walks. It obviously hurts him, and he'll like sit, and there'll be like a look of relief on his face. He'll like go about this business of taking out his wax tablet. I don't know if Thorin can read or not.
She can't, and it's always annoyed her, and so she's just irritated by this man at all times.
So he would definitely know that, and he would like look at the tablet as if he's trying to find the information. But if you could read, it would just be a list of numbers and like stuff, so it's not on there. And he would look up and say, while you were at war, the girl Greta was attacked and defiled. We don't know who it was, but my suspicion suggests it might be Stein, her aggrieved husband, ex-husband now.
Greta. Quiet girl, man who beat her. One of Skjalmod's young ones. Gunnar, that one.
Gunnar, yes. I have not told Gunnar, and I think that should be taken with extreme care.
She live?
She does, though her jaw is broken, and as I say, she has been badly beaten and defiled.
And the Jarl wishes me to see to it.
He does. He has every confidence that you will get to the bottom of this matter. He has much to see to. Stories
Yeah, he does.
Things. Yes. He's like obviously very nervous dealing with you.
Where's the girl?
I can take you to her if you like. Though she has not spoken, not once.
Who else knows of this?
Unfortunately, a great many people. It will not be long before Gunnar finds out, I imagine.
How?
She walked back into the town, bloody. She was taken somewhere, and she made her own way back. Of Stein, there is no sign. I did send men to look.
So she came back in the middle of the night. What, some serving girls saw her?
It was morning.
Ah, shit.
It was early morning, and I was alerted almost immediately, but certainly 10 or so people would have seen. I would
Someone
urge
needs
quick
to
action.
find Gunnar before he finds out.
Yes. I would urge speed. If the boy is a hothead, I can see that about him, and this insult will have to be answered somehow.
He's young and newly married, and I want to see him as soon as he arrives.
I will set the guards to alert.
And for Odin's sake, make sure they don't blabber if they've seen anything. Use discretion.
He nods.
Laura's beautiful what a mess. All right, take me to the girl.
He rises and winces as he does so, and then will walk slowly, dragging his foot behind him through the halls. And you'll hear Skjalmod as you close your eyes, trying to get a moment's rest. Again, the him dragging his leg behind him. He'll lead you down the corridor and turn until there's a room. There's two men posted outside of it. One of whom is asleep, though it's the middle of the night, and you're inside the Jarl's house. Thorin, hello.
Ever vigilant, I see.
I'm sorry, it's late.
I hadn't noticed.
Jorvik just walks past them and knocks before opening the door. And will lead you in. It's dimly lit. Some candles burning and stuff like that. the window is like closed and barred, and like lying on the bed is Greta. You can see that like her nose is broken, and as well like her jaw has been like set, and is like her head is like tightly bound basically, and her eyes are like swollen, badly beaten.
Fuck. Hi. Leave us. Close the door.
Jorvik looks at her, and then back to you, and then back to her. You're safe, he says to her, and then will like drag his way out of the room.
Thorin will look around for the bowl of water and the rag and pick it up and, with uncharacteristic gentleness, kind of dab at the girl's face, maybe catching a bit of drool that's dribbled as she can't move her jaw well. And then she'll pull up a chair next to the bed and just sigh and pinch the bridge of her nose before she starts talking. Do you remember me, girl?
She like looks through like her one unswollen eye, and then like with what seems to be Herculean effort, like nods once.
Can you tap your fingers?
She like looks, and like you can see that she like shakily lifts her arm, and is able to do so.
Thorin puts her hand underneath the girl's hand. She goes, all right. What, tap one time is a yes. 2 times is a no. Try and make this as easy as possible. Do you know who did this?
So she just looks at you, but doesn't tap.
Greta. Greta, do you know who did this to you?
Still nothing.
It's a hard life, being a woman. I know. I've been there. I've seen it. My sister was 12 when the raid happened. Sometimes you can't stop anything. But I swore that day, I swore that I would learn to wield an axe or a sword or a spear or whatever weapon came to hand, and that I would not be helpless again.
She just looks.
Let me help you, Greta. I swear to you, no more harm will come. Even if it was Skjalmod himself who did this to you, there will be justice. And no one will hurt you again.
She taps no.
Let me help you. Do you know who did this to you, Greta?
She taps for yes.
All right. That's a good start. Rest now. There are men outside your door. They're protecting you. I know them. And they know I'd cut off their balls if they let anything happen to you. Rest now. I'll come back later.
Yeah, she just looks as you like stand and go to leave.
Yeah, Thornton's feeling more tired than even the late hour has any right to have this effect on her. But she'll exit the room, close the door behind her, and give a sharp look to the men outside. See that you don't fall asleep this time, eh?
They both nod seriously.
Good. Thorn will go back to her quarters and just kind of think things over for a bit.
Okay. That's a quick break there and exhale. And we'll be back in like 5. Ooh.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty relaxed, actually. Feeling pretty good.
You're just over there eating popcorn.
Yeah, if you guys keep this up, man, I'm gonna be bloated.
I love Chilrick, man. I think he's great. I think this poor scribe has been brought into the fucking fens to like count chickens.
He's so like underutilized. Like,
Somebody's
this is
got
not what he signed up for.
Somebody's got to do it, though.
Yeah, I reckon he's worth more to Skjalmod than a warrior for sure, you know? So Jax is going to join us. We're just going to wait for him to arrive.
Man, I feel like I need a drink after that.
Yep, it ain't easy.
Yeah, you started off with Halvar going a Viking, as it were, raiding.
It's just like always gets glossed over. It's always just like, and then the town was sacked. But what does that actually mean, you know? Like, there's a whole load of stuff that happens there.
Yep. And it ain't pretty.
You know, I'm sitting there as you're describing this hut that Halvar is in, and I'm like, okay, this isn't going so bad. This isn't going so bad. And then, of course, I find the kid and the girls. I'm like, ah, shit. I was kind of hoping that wouldn't happen because I knew what I'd had have Halvar do.
Hey, but you killed that big guy. You're a hero.
Butchered, yeah, and he butchered a 7-year-old boy.
Yep. And you got like dead inside hard asses like Magni who'd be like, and then I killed the boy.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, good one, you know?
Exactly.
They're just like totally dead inside. They've done it 800 times.
Yeah, it was so great when he came in and he just battered one of those girls. Like it was just, like
Routine.
someone pulling on their socks, you know?
Yep. It's just like part of his job. We almost had checks there. So I've probably got like another hour in me, if that's acceptable to you guys. You reckon?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. I'm just happy to play.
Same.
So did you say before that Stein's gone missing? Like he's ran out of town?
Yeah, like Cholric sent people to find him, but they couldn't.
Hello.
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 There he is.
I'm so sorry, by the way. I
You
really
get a
am.
pass. It never happens with you, so it's acceptable.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so we're back. Nucky, you're on the island of the Fen Witch, and you've been there for maybe 8 hours now. I don't know if you would let yourself be parted from Fenya, but she was like brought in on a stretcher, and a deal was struck that for the saving of her, that this like statue that I described in the last session of like the horned god would not be destroyed when the town of the Fenfolk is sacked. And I said that Naki was okay with that he would like accept that deal, because it's just kind of my gut instinct. But basically, like the witch has been like doing her magic over Fenya for some time now, and I don't know if you would be in the house still. Like, would you stay there and watch, or would you be outside?
I think Noki would stay outside. I don't think he'd consider it as his place to be around the magics when they're being worked.
Yeah, so you'd be outside then on this like island of the Fen Witch. It's like a really big island, and out front is this enormous, I mean, he must be 7 feet tall, mute who like spends the majority of the time that you're there chopping wood. He's got this like very sharp, sort of shiny axe, and he doesn't interact with you basically whatsoever. He just like goes, gets some wood, splits it, and just does that on repeat for hours. And so you're like sitting there, and that's like the rhythm of your hours is clunk, clunk, over and over again. But beyond that, there's like this insane noise on this island of wildlife everywhere, and like these clouds of mosquitoes. Like more than once, you feel a snake like slither over your shoe and vanish as you like sit on the stump of a tree. And when you like stop focusing, there's just blood, so much blood, and like insides that should not be out, and your hands are like slipping and slithering, and you're like unable to grip the skin, and you can't get the guts back inside, and all around you there's people dying and people screaming, and slings are pelting into you, and spears are slashing at your arms and your legs, and blows are ringing against your helmet, and all this madness. But all the only thing that you can see or hear is like the quiet whimpering of Fenya, and this like look of terror in her eyes, and she like just says your name, and then you like snap out of it, and like again, clunk, of the man chopping.
I think when Noki snaps out of this almost vision that he's having, he's on the ground in the fetal position, hands tucked, his head tucked into his arms, just like he would when Fenya's father used to kick the shit out of him. And he's even got the legs curled up as to protect his body, and there's vomit spewing forth.
The big man will like, the rhythm will be interrupted. He'll go, dunk, and then he'll like look, and he'll like thunk the axe into the stump, and like take one step over towards you to like see what's going on, and see if you're dead or dying. Doesn't seem to understand what's happening. He just like turns his head to the side and is like watching you. But when he sees you breathing and then vomiting and then breathing again, he shrugs and goes back to his work. As you like sit there huddled, you can hear this like dull rhythm separate to the chopping. This sort of like as if a tambourine is being like rung. You can hear this like singing that's like growing in pitch and volume from inside the hut.
Slightly delirious still. It's still the drill falling down into the ground below. He'll crawl to.
You cut out there for a second, checks. I think you said you crawl towards the noise. Is that right?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can like crawl towards this like song as you do so. You like reach for a clod of earth, and as you like pull underneath, there's all these like insects that like swarm, centipedes and ants and worms. As you like pull this clod of earth free, you like pull yourself towards the door where the singing is coming from. The man again puts his axe into the stump and like folds his arms and like watches this like strange sight of this like man who's like crawling towards the door. You like look up in your bleary vision, you can see like this circle of crows above the house. They're like flying in a perfect circle, which doesn't make sense. It's not what crows do, but they're definitely doing it.
I think upon seeing that, as he reaches the door to the hut, attentively, he'll look back and risk a look inside.
So you can see inside there's a woman, young and healthy, with like white skin, perfectly white it looks like, almost translucent. She's like naked with this like long red hair that spills behind her. She has this like strange instrument in one hand as she like shakes it back and forth and like sings this song in a beautiful voice. Though her nails are like long and yellow, like those of an old woman. And you can see that like the ragged scar across Fenya's stomach has been like sewed carefully shut, and like she's been cleaned of blood. And the woman is like reaching this fever pitch in the song, shaking the tambourine. And then she like turns to look in your direction. She has these like eyes that don't make sense. Pure green. There's nothing there, no pupil. Just this like deep green. And she opens her mouth and you can see sharp teeth, and she like points towards the door and it like will close.
For just one fleeting moment, Loki reaches out, tries to open the door, tries to get his fingers in between the wood. I imagine I find himself unable to before he falls back on his arse on the ground, still slightly retching, unable to comprehend what the hell is going on.
Yeah, you would fall backwards into the muck, and you'd like look up and see that perfect circle of crows circling down, and then they would land in a circle on top of the roof of the house, like the last thing you see before you would like pass out. The morning will come, and Thorin, it comes all too soon. You haven't really slept well, or at all, maybe, but you can hear the dawn chorus, this relentless of crows and ravens and all the pigeons and all of the other birds that like make incessant noise in the swamp. Although at least it's a break from the gulls that you're used to in Gunland. And though it's early, Chilric will like knock on your door again. Thorin?
Come in.
He'd open the door and step in, and then like see that you're like mildly undressed and in bed, and he would like turn around and would say, Gunnar has arrived home.
Where is he?
He's in another room here in the hall.
Because he asked for his wife.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said he's to go to the Jarl's Hall. I haven't told him anything.
Very well. All right. Which room's he in? And she'll kind of stand up and, not caring at all that he's in the room, start to get dressed the rest of the way.
Yeah, he would tell you it's like down the hall to the right, second door, something like that. I'll await you there.
And do fetch one of Skjalmod's men, please. Just in case.
He nods. And you can hear him dragging his way through the hall. A couple of minutes later, you'd arrive at the door, and there'd be 3 men there waiting outside the door.
She kind of chuckles to herself, having asked for 1 and gotten 3. But she's seen the rage strength of a man who thinks he's in the right, who thinks he's been wronged. And she knows it's a wise precaution. She'll knock on the door.
Yes, yes.
Gunnar,
What the fuck is going on?
sit down, please.
I'd like to know what's going on. I don't want to sit.
Sit.
He like looks at you and like the other like assembled people and will like shake his head and sit.
Thorn will close the door and leave just herself and Gunnar in the room. I will first remind you that you are sworn to Skjalmod and you obey his orders, and mine by proxy.
I know what an oath is. Where's my wife?
She's been injured.
Is she all right?
She's alive.
What happened?
The specifics are yet unclear. But she was badly injured.
How did you fall? What?
It seems that she was attacked. We do not know by whom.
His face would like go hard. You don't know by whom.
Not yet.
I know. And you know.
While we may have our suspicions, we cannot act upon them. You cannot act upon this, Gunnar.
Fuck that. That's my wife. He's dead. I'm gonna fucking skin him.
And what then? Outcast as a murderer? Take your wife out to live in the swamp,
Not
away
murder,
from
it's
people?
legal. I'll fucking murder him. I'll eat his fucking heart. He like stands and goes to the door.
She puts a hand on her shoulder and tries to force it back down in the chair.
Yeah, he's not willing to sit. He'll like try and shrug off your hand and move towards the door. And he'll begin like shouting, "Stop!"
He's not here. Save your voice.
That would wake you, Skjalmod, I reckon. He like roars it as loud as he can. So in another room somewhere, you would like so exhausted, probably like open your eyes and just like do one of those sighs.
I'll call out for Halvar to bring like my tabardry and like boots and food and escort me to the Lord's Hall.
In the room, Gunnar is like moving towards the door, and he's like trying to push you off him. And like he opens the door, and you can see the men there, and they like give him this look of like, "Don't try it." Where's my wife?
She's sleeping. You can
Where?
see her in a few hours. She's here.
Then he does try and move through the dudes who will like try and stand in his way, and he'll like begin pushing and pulling. And as they like push him back, he's gonna like smack one of them in the face and try and push his way through.
Enough, Gunnar.
Greta!
I will take you to her soon. Not yet. Let her rest.
What do you want me to do? Sit here? Do nothing?
Yes.
It's fucking ridiculous. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna find this man. I'm gonna skin him.
Do not waste my time and the time of Skjalmod's men by having to babysit you.
What would you do?
I will see justice done.
Justice. Fuck off.
You listen to me, boy. You are young. You are stupid.
You're fucking stupid. Get out of my way.
You have every right to be angry, but you cannot act on it. Yet. Not until we know for sure.
Oh, and who the fuck else was it? Somebody walked into the town and attacked my wife as if it's Stein, and I'm going to find him. I'm going to fuck him to death with my sword.
And what of your wife then? You are selfish in your anger, boy.
Skjalmod's a good man. He'll understand. He'll want this. It's right.
Skjalmod put me in charge. If you think that I don't want to see whoever did this ripped limb from limb, you're wrong. Despicable.
Every minute that we sit in this room and talk about it is a minute that he's getting further away. I cannot abide it. I need to go.
Men are looking for him.
What men? Not me.
With good reason.
I will search harder and better than anybody else on this earth.
And you would kill him.
Yes.
The moment you found him. Even if it wasn't him, you would still kill him.
It was him. I know that, and you know that too.
If you can calm down, I will take you to Greta.
He like nods, but he's like breathing heavy, and you can see that he's like shaking. And he like walks over to the table he's sitting at and just like flips it, and like punches a wall a little bit too hard, and then like shakes his fist. All right.
Thorin puts her hand on his shoulder and grips it a little too hard. For her sake, be calm. She is in a delicate state. Do you understand me?
He nods.
She kind of eyes him for another moment. Very well. This way. And I'll take him down to Greta's room.
On the island of the Fen Witch, time has passed, significant time it seems, and you like wake Nucky, as like the man who like shakes your shoulder, and he's got this like bowl of like a delicious smelling stew, and he like hands it to you, and like a tankard of water, and he just like looks at it, looks at you, and mimes eating.
With a parched throat, Nokia looks up, follows the mime of his eyes, and gives a nod, taking the offered food and water, and at first greedily taking it, and then sipping, looking around to see what you can see.
You've been like moved. You're on like hay and like rushes and things like that under like the shelter of a stable. And it's morning. It's probably afternoon actually. Though it's overcast and a little bit rainy. There's no more singing and no more crows.
Using the back of his hand to wipe his mouth, he looks up at this mute man, this giant of a man. Is it done?
He shrugs.
You don't speak at all, do you?
Shakes his head.
You know, if you can't speak, you can't curse the gods. And if you can't curse the gods, they can't curse you. Nokia will rise, finish off the last of the water, look around again, and go to make towards the hut. I bet he'll take a look up in the sky.
Yeah, you can make your way towards it on shaky legs. The rain is pretty heavy, but it's fresh. There was like this, for the last few days, this like thick sort of humidity in the air, and now it's broken. As you like look up, there's this peal of thunder, this as you make your way towards the house. You can see that the smoke is still coming out of it, though it's silent now. There's no singing, no strange instruments.
When he reaches the door, he'll stand outside the hut, recalling this witch closing the door on him without being near it. So he'll stand in the rain and the thunder, his hands clasped in front of him, his head slightly bowed just in front of the door, and wait.
There's another of thunder. and then like a crack of lightning, and then more thunder. And a good minute goes by before there's a and the door opens.
For a minute or so, yeah, he'll stand there waiting before pushing the door open further with his foot and taking a walk, a step inside.
Yeah, it's warm and cozy. And on a table, you can see Fenya. She's been cleaned of blood, and she's wearing this like white shift that's been put on her. Her like bloody clothes and whatever else strewn about the floor, sort of messily. The only piece of mess in an otherwise like spotless house. All these herbs, sort of delicious smelling, hang from the ceiling. And you can see in one corner in like a rocking chair is an old woman, must be 100. These like long yellow nails and like white hair, very very long. She'll like look up at you with these like milky eyes. How did you sleep?
I don't know. I remember the weight of the world upon my heart, and then darkness.
Not a good way to sleep. She will live. And she like continues like clacking the needles together, and then she like stops for a second, turns her head. She is intact. All of her.
What do you mean?
The cut was deep, scoured her womb, but it is healed. And she looks at you like you might find that interesting.
I don't think Noki would say anything to that, but he would certainly there'd be a momentary look of him being taken aback flash across his face. And then he would make his way over to Fenya, who I imagine is still unconscious on this table, and he would just kind of run his hand through her hair and look down upon her.
Yeah, she just looks like she's sleeping. She's not like pale even anymore, or maybe as pale as she usually is, but not like unusually so. She's not like clammy or warm the way she had been before the witch did her magics, whatever they might be.
There's a raspy, and it's not something Noki's probably ever said, at least in over a decade. There's a raspy thank you. Although he says it while looking at Fenya, but it's directed towards the witch.
There was a cost, and your Jarl paid it. But you are welcome.
Sorry, is Noki aware of what the cost was? Or was this
Yeah.
clandestine?
Yep, so it would have been... That's some thunder. It would have been made clear to you because you were asked, should he go through with it? The question was like that huge statue, basically, of like the pagan god, whatever it is, to not be destroyed. And Skjalmod asked you, like, should he do it? And I had you say yes.
Okay. So once again, Noki will give another nod, and in slightly more stronger vocal tones, he'll say thank you again. Unsure what else to say in this situation.
It will be another day before she wakes, and then 9 before she's well again.
I won't leave her side until those days are up.
No one stays here without work. And so you can chop wood.
I'll chop wood. I'll gather mushrooms. I'll shovel shit, whatever it takes.
Good. You have good manners. And she'll go back to knitting. Fenya will like stir a little bit in her sleep, but won't wake. However, you've heard like a call from the Jarl to bring him his things. Your hand sort of stings, although the worst of the pain seemingly is gone. And whenever you put that stuff from the jar on it, the pain lessens.
He quickly makes his way to the Jarl's chambers. There's a knock. He knocks on the door, even though his Jarl has yelled for him. Lord, I have come when you called.
Come, boy, quick.
He would come in, and you would see a look of worry on the boy's face. He goes, Gunnar, Lord.
I've heard. Come, quick. Dress me and we shall go.
Yeah, he hastily does that. You notice that he's a bit awkward as the bandages on his left hand hinder him some, but he makes a quick apology and he helps you to get dressed, yeah.
His sword belted on and such, he'll march swiftly down towards the Lord's Hall, where I assume the yelling's subsided by now.
Yeah.
It's quiet again. So we'll try and seek out Thorin.
So you would find them back out of Greta's room, under which duress Gunnar was pulled out of the room. He would have been tearful, would have like sat by her side, held her hand, and like sworn to her that he would make this right. But now he's like back in that room with the table inside, and you would see like there's 3 of the men standing there, and as you approach, they'll like stiffen and like nod to you.
Be at ease, men. Go fetch the tanner's wife, the hunter's wife, and the older lady who makes the flint tips. They'll guard the girl's quarters for as long as she needs. So thank you for your service. Dismissed.
My lord.
How is he? He'll say to Thorin.
About as you'd expect.
No word of Stein?
None.
Gunnar's place is here with Greta, not out in the woods after Stein. The men that Chorlik sent, you think them capable?
Aye, but as best I understood it, he was a fisherman or woodsman or some sort.
No stranger to these lands. I wish Nucky were here. He'd have him skull dragged back already. Greta, she'll still not speak.
Not in words. I believe I can learn more if I sit with her again.
Helvar, you've mingled amongst the younger folk of Skjalvik. Do you know who Greta's people are?
At the mention of his name, there, Halvar would start as was just standing in the doorway. Lord, and then I question Lloyd. What would Halvar possibly know?
I guess you'd know that Hakon is your younger brother. He's maybe 12 or something like that. And he's been taken into the Jarl's service. He's her younger brother. As far as her parents and stuff, they're both dead. And so they managed together, or have managed together, the two of them. So she was like married to this man, Stein. I don't know if you'd know much beyond that.
Yeah. So he would stammer out that information, not telling you nothing that you don't already know. And it's a flush in his... Oh, sorry. There's a flush in his cheeks as he realizes that he's not been helpful.
Go and find Hakon. He'll probably be in the training yard with men, unless he's heard of this. He might be preparing himself to go off where Gunnar cannot.
Yeah, he immediately takes off to do so.
You can like run outside and start to look for Hakon. He's not in the training yard, and you can like go to his house where you would see, as Skjalmod expected, that he's like literally packing a bag and he's like tying the straps and things like that. He has like a sayax at his waist and an axe in his hand. As you like enter, he'll like turn to look. He'll like look past you and then like see that there's no what he would consider warriors with you. He would say, "Yes."
The Lord needs you. What are you doing? And he would look past him at the pack that he has been hastily filling. Do you intend to flee then? It's not wise. Better you come.
No, I intend to avenge my sister.
Oh, okay. I apologize. He probably wouldn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And Helvar would understand that. He would nod. But he's conflicted. He's like, the Lord has ordered you to come. You will come with me.
He shakes his head. I can't. They're keeping Gunnar as a prisoner. I have to avenge her. Stein did this. He's like shaking his head, and you can see there's tears in his eyes at like the thought of it.
Yeah. He would raise his hands to show that he doesn't have a weapon in them. Just the bandaged left hand. And he would say, I understand. We have all lost or suffered hurts. The Lord, he is just. He will make this right. Come with me. If you do not, you'll make it worse for you.
Stein will be long gone by the time they decide to do anything. He has a house in the woods. I can go and find him. He'll be there.
Then go to the Lord with me. Tell him where this house is.
I want to do it. It matters to me that it's me.
About how far away from me is he?
Maybe 10 feet at most.
Yeah, so as he's talking, he would be slowly walking towards him, not in a threatening way, but his hand's still up as he's talking to him. He says, the Lord will understand. Justice, the gods will demand it. He will get Stein. We will get him. And the whole time he's getting closer. And you said he has a sea axe at his waist.
Yeah, he's got an axe in his hand, though it's like a like a tool rather than a weapon, you know.
Mhm.
And he's not like brandishing it at you or anything. He's just like was holding it when you came in and is still holding it.
Yeah. And when he gets close enough, he would set a hand on the boy's shoulder. It would be his left hand. He would say, and he would mean this. You would see like this touch of wet in his eyes. He goes, I wish that I had a sister that I could care so much about. And if he could, if he doesn't relax at that point, he would put his hand out to take the axe from him, like putting his hand out, like put the axe in my hand, boy.
Yeah, he's like looking between you and him, and you can just tell that he's like roiling emotions and doesn't really know how to process anything. And then he'll just like hand you the axe and begin sobbing.
And he would hug him, he would pull him in close. He would drop the axe to the floor so that he could embrace him. And he would just whisper into his ear, it will all be well. It will all be well. And then as his sobs begin to lessen, he would, kind of just like almost motherly reach up with the corner of his tunic and just dry the boy's eyes. And he would smile and say, we wouldn't want the Lord to see the tears. And then he would bring him back.
Yeah, he like sniffles and like rubs away the tears, and will follow. Did you want to talk to Gunnar before the boy gets here? Thorin and
Yeah.
Skjalmod?
Yeah, I want to talk to both of them. I would give them a bit of an appropriate amount of time after I arrive, and I'd just hang out there with Thorin. And imagine things are pretty cool after the Fen Witch, and awkwardly silent on my behalf anyway. But once I can hear a lull inside, make our way in to address Greta and Gunnar.
Oh, he was taken to a different room because he was like too upset.
I see. So they're separated again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll go to Greta then, since we're here.
Yeah. Okay. So she's lying on the bed as I described earlier. She's got like a tight bandage around her head, pressing her jaw shut because it was broken. Her nose has been like set, though it's like massively swollen, and one of her eyes is swollen shut. She's like covered in bruises everywhere.
Greta, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I failed you.
And she looks like nervous to you, and then to Thorin, and then back to you. And she like shakes her head.
There are men after Stein. If they don't find him, your brother, your husband, or I will. If he's not the man who did this, you needs must tell me now, or else he will certainly die. And if it's not Stein who did this, the one who did is out there still, and should be hunted all the same.
Thorin will go and sit by the bed and take Greta's hand again. One, yes. Two, no.
She looks absolutely terrified, and you can see there's like a tear rolling down her cheek.
All will be well, Greta. Will you tell us?
Gunnar wants his justice. Harkon will want his. Other people with their opinions in Skjalvik will want their form of justice. But I mean to serve you justice, Greta. You must speak to us.
Will you tell us? Who did this?
She looks between you and is like obviously crying and like doesn't know what to do. She's like gripping your hand, though she's not like tapping or anything like that.
Your silence is a death sentence for Stein.
Peace,
Will
Jarl.
that be your truth?
Peace. Perhaps you should speak with Gunnar.
I beg your leave, ladies. And he'll like give a half bow and go outside. I imagine he sees across the yard Halvar bringing up Harkon.
Yeah.
Good. Come, Harkon. I can see you have heard. I thank you for showing wisdom and restraint. Come, we'll go to see your brother-in-law. See if we can make sense and justice of this. I'll give a nod of thanks to Halvar. Note that he should fall in with us. We'll go off to do just that.
Yeah, you can open the door to the room. Gunnar's in. He's like standing, looking at the window. He's got his arms folded. He's just like standing there, and he'll like turn as you enter, like anger in his face. Then you'll see that it's you, Skjalmod, and Hakon. His face will soften, and he'll like give Hakon a hug and like sit next to him.
The boy was readying to leave. He asks Halvar like probingly.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Fuck. Yeah, he nods his head. There's like that pause as he thinks to tell you something different, and he nods.
I'm proud. You're fierce, Harkon. It is the right thing to do. Where would you have gone to seek out Stein? He's married to your sister for years, and you in his employ before mine.
Halvar blurts out before he thinks. He goes, he mentioned a cabin in the woods. And then he catches himself and kind of takes a little half step back.
Gunnar looks at Hakon. What cabin? Where?
Yeah, Skjalmod's brow arches like an uprooted tree at the boy.
He has a cabin, Lord. Maybe half a day from here, maybe a little longer. He would go there to fish and he would take Greta there sometimes.
You can take us there.
Yes.
The justice is not for you, he says sternly to the boy. Nor for you, Harkon, if Harkon hadn't caught the drift yet. It is for Greta. And Skjalvik.
Hakon nods, but Gunnar like has this like look in his face. And he says, Jarl, I mean no disrespect, but there is no oath and no power on this earth that will stop me avenging this cruelty.
Good, I should hope so. But it is by Greta's hand or Greta's will the vengeance will be wrought.
He like thinks about
If
it.
the man must die, it can be by your hand. And very likely he is the perpetrator. All things point to that. But in the off chance he's not, and you were Stein, you'd flee Skjalvik too. With a new lord and half an army coming back, blood hot up, I would flee to the hills. Who would believe me that I did not? I will get to the bottom of this, and when we know for sure, then we can act. That is justice. If you chase him out into the swamp blood hot, you'll be easier to kill, and I'll be another warrior down.
You see he's like trying to control his breathing and his like jaw is like clenching and unclenching. He like closes his eyes and takes a deep breath in through his nose. That's why you're the Jarl. You think.
You may not believe it, but it hurts me too. Come, we'll follow Harkin. Boy's heart is true.
He's a good boy.
Jorek, have men wait on the river for Noki and the return of those folk. We may need them on our trail. Other than that, we'll take just what we need.
My lord. And he'll like scratch it down into his tablet.
I'll leave Halvar. He's a very good spy with the Harkon and Gunnar. While they prepare, while I go to tell Thorin what's happening and see what she thinks. If she wants to stay or come or...
Okay.
So if she's still with Thorin, he'd go seek... if still with Greta, he'd go seek her out there. If not, yeah, try and find her.
Yep. Greta wouldn't say anything to you, Thorin. She would just continue to like grip your hand. And you can see that she's crying and obviously very afraid of this situation, of what's happened to her. And like it's just like not able to deal with what's going on and like is unwilling to engage. Like not unwilling to help, but like unable to.
Yeah, Thorin will awkwardly kind of pat the girl's hair. Shh. Hush. You're safe. You have to tell me. Was it Stein? You'll have to tell me, Greta.
Nothing.
They will kill him. Your husband, your brother. If they find him, they will kill him. And if he is innocent, things will go poorly for them.
She gives you this look, and she's like gripping your hand. And it's like hard to read, but there's something there about like, can Stein be innocent after like the life that he gave me?
I know little of your previous husband. He seemed a brute. He smelled of fish. But no man deserves to die for a crime they did not commit.
She just squeezes your hand, and then the door opens. Skjalmod would enter with some men in tow.
I'll get them to stay at the door with the female guards and just approach halfway between the threshold and the ladies and address them. Thorin, we intend to head out now on the trail of Stein. Harkon knows a place, and he'll describe the area loosely and look for a flicker of recognition from Greta. Will you stay and guard the Lady Greta, or do you wish to come with us?
She looks to Greta and then up to Skjalmod. I will stay.
The boy says, half a day. We'll make haste. Hopefully see you sooner than then. Skjalvik is yours. And with that, he'll give like a bow like before and go to leave. Yes.
We do not know if it was him. She has not said.
He's condemned by silence. And by cowardice. We'll go to hunt him now and see what skein is woven there. He'll say that in the kind of intonation of like, "This is your last chance, Greta. Like, if it's not Stein, you need to tell us now because he's just gonna die."
Yeah, she's like looking away from you and away from you, Thorin, just like down.
I don't think he'll say anything. He'll just kind of give a look to Thorin and then close the door.
And Thorin just kind of sighs at the click of the door. So be it then.
And so the party heads out. A posse or a mob headed out into the swamp. Gunnar moves with like ridiculous speed, seemingly like inexhaustible as you like track through some of the thicker parts of the undergrowth. He just like moves with like this desperate need to get there as soon as possible. How many are you taking, Skjalmod? I assume Gunnar and Halvar, but are you going to take? Yeah.
Harkin, Halvar, Gunnar, the old guy who was the tracker who like led us or guided us to the fenfolk and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Him and probably if I left Thorin in charge, it means I can take Blonde Magni. And that'd be about it. Because if it's big and loud, then it'll just put Stein to flight again. Need to be swift. Actually, Magni, one of the outlaws whom Noki trusted. I think it was Bjorn.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'll take him. He's the kind of man for this.
Okay. So it's a march. Like you're going through like the thicker parts of the swamp, and there's a couple of times you have to like walk through maybe like knee-deep water, but there's no point in taking a boat. And so you're like trudging through. And Hakon leads the way as best he can. A few times he'll like speak quietly with Gunnar. And Gunnar is just laser focused on where you're going. You make decent time. It's raining still, and there's like occasional peal of thunder. Maybe like an omen.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that favorable because that's what we need. So I'll clutch my amulet and thank Thor for making it. It'll hide our approach.
And you continue for the best part of the day until Hakon will like stop you and he'll say, on this next island we cross this little bit of water will be the hut. It faces away south. And that's where he used to bring Greta.
Thank you, Hakon. Let me do the talking from now.
He
We'll
nods.
approach. To Gunnar, I'll say, remember your oaths to me.
Yes, Jarl.
Yeah, and I'll like move up. Probably pains me a little to like skulk, but I know it's needful, lest to put the bird to flight. So I'll approach the house like a thief, creeping up to like try and hem the place in, and then call out to Stein, like call him out rather than like bust into his house.
Yeah, Bjarni will like take the other side and he'll like walk all the way around to come from the other side. Yeah, and you can like call out a few times.
Call through the rain.
And just this constant like of rain splashing against the water all around. And another. And Fenya wakes up on the witch island, her eyes open as you are outside, Naki. And you can hear just like shout your name, Naki!
As soon as Naki hears that, the axe in his hand as he's splitting wood, he throws it to the side and runs towards the hut.
Yeah, you can open the door and you can see that she's up on her elbows and she's like looking around. She looks healthy. There's like a ruddy sort of redness to her cheeks. And she like, as she sees you, her eyes will like light up. Naki.
I make my way towards her and I just kind of push her back down so she's lying down again, fretful that she's not fully recovered yet and in no condition to sit up.
She like absolutely, as you come close, will like wrap her arms around you and like pull you tight.
It's okay. Okay now, you're well.
Where am I? What happened? Was there a monster?
How much do you remember?
Not much. Went to go and fight the fenfolk.
You got hurt during the fight. Badly. We brought you here to heal.
She like
By the gods, you've healed.
She'll like look at herself and like turn her hands back and forth, like, where was I hurt? And she like looks around. She like tries to sit up and then she like feels it. Ugh.
Careful now.
How am I okay?
For the first time since he's entered the hut, Noki will actually look around to see if the witch is in here.
She's in the corner, knitting.
So Noki will incline his head towards the old crone. She healed you.
Fenya will like look and like reach up for her amulet and grip it. I want to go. Can we go?
Noki's acutely aware at this point that the witch sees all and hears all that happens within her hovel. So instead of responding to Fenya, Noki will look up towards the witch as if to pass the question on.
She can travel. The worst is behind her. She will need days of rest still. There must be 9 days of rest.
Are you sure you do not want to rest here?
She'll like lean forward and like whisper you to, I don't like it here. The woman scares me.
Me too.
Let's go home. I want to go home. The witch will like rise from her chair and with this like weirdly fluid motion will like come and stand next to you. She'll like put her hand on Fenya's stomach. You're well now, child. You will need to rest when you return to Skjalvik. You will not die from these wounds that should have slain you. I sewed together the skeins that were tattered. You will live. And she's talking, you can like feel Fenya's hand like wrap around your arm and like hold onto it. And she like nods and then like doesn't know what to say and just says, "Thank you."
Yes, thank you for all that you've done. But yes, we will leave now. Leave you to your work, and we'll see that she rests 9 days.
9.
See that it's done.
So with your help, you can get Fenya up and like gather up her things and make your way back outside into the rain where there's a and you can make your way towards a boat. With some of the other wounded, start padding your way back towards Skjalvik. The thunder rolls again and the door opens and you can see Stein there, old and wizened. He's got like grey hair and a short grey beard and hands like a man who has been working every day of his life. And he like looks and sees you, Skjalmod, and the others with you. And his shoulders slump.
Is it true, Stein?
Does it matter?
It matters to me.
Everyone will think that it's true.
Do you deny it?
He like takes a deep breath. I didn't do it. Liar! Gunnar calls and like takes a step forward, but then like Braggy puts a hand on his chest and like pushes him back a little bit.
You fled because you feared Gunnar's wrath, even though you meant to demand to fight for Greta in the Birch Circle.
If I stayed, I'd be dead already. And I think I will die either way. I should have run further.
You shouldn't have beat your wife.
She was my wife. It's our business.
We're not Iskolfin grovelers, cave-dwelling savages. We abide the king's law. A wife is only yours as much as you are hers.
There was no king's law here for a very long time, Jarl.
There is king's law here now.
He nods at that. Sucks at one of his teeth. I beat her in the past. But not this time. I don't want to die at the hands of this whelp. I'm not stupid. There's an army now in Skjalvik. And there's a new order. And if you're not a part of that order, well, then you're in trouble.
Skjalmod just nods to him at that.
I will say that I did not do it, but no one will believe me. Gunnar will not believe me.
You heard that Greta was attacked, and so you fled.
Yes.
And you have no notion of who did this.
No. I have avoided her since.
I'm going to roll an insight check, fool that I am. I believe you.
Halvar, upon hearing that from the Lord, his hands wringing the shaft of his spear, he looks, his eyes immediately dart to Gunnar.
You think he's like one incorrect word away from like losing it, howling like a wolf, and eating this man's heart.
He takes a step closer to him.
Yeah, so yourself and Bjarni are like both standing in front of him.
He would be imposing himself between the Lord and probably Stein as well.
I banish you from this land, Stein, for your past grievances, and you are right, you have no part in this new order. I banish you from the fens. I'll give you time to collect your things and see you from here.
He like looks back into the hut and then out to you. Outlaw?
Aye, a wife beater, a divorcee, a coward.
He spits.
Halvar, Braggy, take Harkon and Gunnar back to the boat. Make ready to leave.
Gunnar like holds his place and he says, if he's an outlaw, then we're bid to do him harm. And he's like staring at him with just this like insensate hate.
The king's law on banishment is clear. There is a grace period, even for men who have committed more grievous sins than this one.
Then I beg your leave to follow this man until that grace period stops and then murder him.
"13 weeks. Once the grace period is over, you can hunt him all you like for 13 weeks. Then you will remember your oath and return to me, whether you have his heart or not. You'll be satisfied with this justice, unless Greta should move her tongue again."
He nods. Thank you, Jarl.
Then go.
He does, and Hakon with him.
I'll approach Stein in his hut and stand there looking about the place reprovingly as he gathers his things. What will you do?
All my life I was in this fen. It's what I know. Hunting frogs and fish. I'm not a sailor. I'm not a hunter. I live here because it's easy and the food comes to you. They say there's fens in Valleyland somewhere. Maybe I'll go there.
If not you, then who?
He goes about packing his things, which are meager. And there's almost nothing in this hut. There's like a sleeping mat, some like pots and things like that. And he'll just begin gathering those things silently.
Gunnar will chase you through hell.
He will.
I'll take out one of those rings pilfered from the fenfolk and hand it to the man.
Lord?
For the ferryman, and then I'll bury a dagger in his throat.
Yes. He just gurgles and will fall dead seconds later.
I'll take his pouch and find his tinder and set a fire in the place and go down to the boat and sail back to Skjalvik.
Back in Skjalvik. Greta is like squeezing your hand. And then we'll tap no.
No. It's too late for no, girl.
She like nods and you can like see her body shaking, and she's like obviously weeping that she's not really able to do so, the state that she's in. And she like starts shaking her head and like tapping at your hand like no, 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 no.
Shh, easy, easy. Slow down. Was it one of the Jarl's men?
No.
Or was it a fenfolk?
No.
Was it an outlaw?
No.
Thorin is trying to figure out who else it could have been. Was it anyone you'd seen before?
Yes.
Was it another Jarl's man?
Yes.
Did you recognize the colors?
Yes.
Was it Floki's son?
Yes.
Was there more than one?
Yes.
More than 5?
No.
Is there more you would wish me to know?
She like is thinking about it, and she's like shaking now, and she's obviously crying. And she's like wincing from the pain because every part of her face hurts. And she says, yes, but is unable to tell you. And that is where we're going to end the session.
Grim.
Oh, that was terrible. Cool. Thanks, guys. That was really fun. If you watched, I hope you enjoyed.